Welcome to World Travel Made Easy with Itinerary Boss, the podcast where we dive deep into insider tips, travel hacks, and the best ways to explore the world smarter. I'm your host, Ross. Whether you're a seasoned traveler or just starting your next getaway, you're in the right place. Before we dive into today's episode, I've got something special for you. Head over to itineraryboss.com to grab your free resource to get you started traveling smarter and quicker. And it's all yours to help you make your next trip unforgettable. Don't also forget to follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcast on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube so you never miss an episode. We've got new travel tips, interviews, and destination inspiration coming your way every Wednesday. And if you enjoy the show, don't forget to share it with a friend and give us a rating and review to help more people travel. Also, make sure to subscribe to the Itinerary Insider at itineraryboss.com, where you'll get all the latest episode releases, blog posts, as well as exclusive credit card sign-up bonuses, my travel must-haves, and travel hacks delivered straight to your inbox. Let's get you traveling smarter. And now, on to the show. Today, we're diving into honeymooning in Thailand for a month, as well as family travels to the Caribbean with 3 kids with my man, Chris Saa. I got the chance to meet Chris years ago through my best friend, Mike. He's one of his many cousins, and have gotten the chance just to hear more about Chris's travels. He got to go to Thailand for a month on his honeymoon, and since has traveled with kids all over the Caribbean and all over the US. So I wanted to bring him on to share some of those tips and tricks. What's going on, Chris?
How you doing, Ross? Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man, always. And I'm excited to learn a little bit more from you about Thailand, obviously, since we're going there on our honeymoon next April. And you provide that, and then as everyone keeps having kids and expanding the families, it's always good. People always ask, how do I travel with kids? So I feel like this you've been a master of it. You gave me some things that I didn't even know about when we had our pre-call. So really looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We can jump right into it. I mean, Thailand was an incredible trip. We booked for 3 weeks originally, decided to stay for an extra week. I had a good friend backpacking through Asia that I haven't seen in several years. So we ended up staying for almost a full month there. But I mean, it is like nowhere else I've ever been. I mean, I've been all over the Caribbean, all over the US, other places in the country, in the world, but I mean, it was a shock. It was a huge culture shock, and that's why my wife and I decided to travel there. Was because we wanted to go somewhere that we knew we can take a lot of time and really enjoy it and really dig into the country itself. So it was great. I mean, we did, as far as what we did, I booked the whole thing myself. I planned it my entire self. I did a ton of research, asked around a lot of people. I did have a good family friend that is Indian that has a villa over there in Koh Samui, so he was able to give me some insights on where to go, what to do, kind of stay away from all the tourist stuff. But man, with that being said, it was an amazing trip.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it. And I think, like you said, planning, researching, that's the biggest thing to make it successful. I want to take a step back just so
Sure.
listeners have a understanding kind of your background, other travel you've done, and just understanding like, usually it doesn't start with, hey, I just planned this month-long trip to Thailand and then we went and then all was well. So just understanding, how do you get started traveling, and then how do you decide, where you want to go?
No, for sure. So I was fortunate enough my parents took me and my brothers on vacations all the time. A lot of the times they were in the Caribbeans. I mean, I have two older brothers, so we were always drinking a little bit, eating a lot. So my parents were always like, all inclusives are the best thing to do for our family. And we went on 3 or 4 cruises. We've done Belize, we've done Honduras, we've done Cayman Islands, St. Thomas, obviously Cancun 5 to 7 times, Dominican multiple times. So I got into traveling at an early age with my family. And then, once I started putting some money in my pocket, I started figuring out where I wanted to go, not necessarily where the family was going to go. And then did a lot of traveling back to the Caribbean on my own, which was really only the Caribbeans that I've ever really booked. Thailand was a whole nother ball game to book. It was a lot more involved. It wasn't an all inclusive. There was a lot of a lot of traveling, extra flights, boat rides to other islands. So there was a lot of coming and going that I had to be a little more serious about. But that's
Yeah,
kind of
no,
where
I
I got
think
started, was at an early age with the family, and my parents were lucky enough to take us to a lot of places in the Caribbean. Which, at the end of the day, they all are kind of the same. Yeah, some of the beaches are different. Some of the resorts are different. The food's different, but you really got to hone in on what you're really looking for as far as safety, food, you know, how to get there, easy access, so on and so forth.
yeah, for sure. I feel like everyone I've brought on or I talk to, a lot of the times people who are right traveling more and more or have done it and have more experience are the people who started when they were younger. Doesn't mean they were going over to Europe and doing Highland
Sure.
trips like you were, but they got that experience. They're like, oh, this is fun. I want to do this more. I'm definitely gonna on a off the episode pick your brain on Belize because I know they have direct flights from Charlotte on American and you can use points and that's a place that definitely is.
Some of the best beaches I've been to are in Belize.
I've heard that, and it's pretty cheap. I know. We can talk all day about investing in real estate there and
Yeah.
and those type of things. But yeah, I remember just like I think how I met you was I remember Mike went on your bachelor party to Cancun, and I was like, who are all these guys just holding up? I don't even know if it was like Ace of Spade or champagne bottles. Just there was like a huge picture, and then Mike's like, "Oh, that's my cousin Chris," and everyone, and that's how I kind of got to meet all you guys. And then from there, I mean, yeah, going to the Caribbean is great. And it'd also be good just understanding since you've done a lot of all inclusives. I've never done all inclusives. I've always planned out kind of like your Thailand trips, just to different European cities and all over the country. So just
Sure.
hearing like that shock of, wow, this is a lot harder and like what all went into that, I think would also be good to hear for people who haven't done either.
Yeah, so I mean, as far as in my recommendation, if you're traveling to the Caribbean and you're looking for all inclusive, get a budget. Get a budget in mind. Whether it's you and the wife, you and your friends, you and the family, whether it's you going on a bachelor party. I planned 3 or 4 bachelor parties in the Caribbean with family, friends, cousins. So usually you get a budget in mind, and then from there, when you go to Cancun, Dominican, and all those other places, a lot of them have you know hundreds of resorts. So to try to pick through those, I do the basics. I go on Expedia and go to package deals. I've typically found that to be the best, the cheapest. Obviously, you can't really use your points and stuff, but it's always been the cheapest from what I've seen over the past 10, 15 years of booking those. But yeah, you get a budget in mind, and then I always look at food. All inclusives can be really sketchy when it comes to food. You can get really, really bad food. You can get really good food, and then you just get some mediocre stuff that you kind of just like, all right, I guess I'll eat the pizza again. So you gotta be very careful with that. And that's what we always look for, whether it was with my family or whether I do it now with friends. We always make sure the food's good. Safety in all those locations are all kind of the same. Yeah, we hear about stuff down in Cancun and Jamaica and the Caribbean. You just got to go from point A to point Z. Be smart. Don't go off the beaten path at night and stuff like that. And that's really what it comes down to. But going back to booking, yeah, get a budget in mind. I do a lot of research on Expedia. Then it's only all the other websites that are out there. TripAdvisor. You're gonna hear all the goods and bads on TripAdvisor. People are always talking bad, usually, which is what you want to hear. And then ultimately, you kind of just got to go with your gut feeling. A lot of them are going to be very comparable. That's for sure. So
Yeah, no, those are good tips and tricks. And from a all-inclusive standpoint, I know that you shared a couple of those places that you've been in the Caribbean, in Mexico. So I'll make sure to link those in the show notes for listeners if they are looking to book. And yeah, there's always people online, keyboard warriors, Karens, whatever you want to call them,
yeah,
that are going to complain about there wasn't 6 cubes of ice in their water, but there are people who
yeah,
do provide good, valuable tips. And like I like Reddit now because you can go on and like you can
yep.
find, but yeah, TripAdvisor, I feel like if you find something that's high quality and it's 4 or 5 or up, I mean, that's usually going to be good. There's bad apples everywhere who are going to complain about anything and everything. But yeah,
Of
food, I
course. And I
haven't
think a
been.
lot. I think a lot of those people that are are complaining are probably first time travelers, and
Yep.
we're expecting one thing and got something else. So that's kind of what you have to, with my experience, that's what I dig through to make sure that quality food's good. Restaurants, a lot of those places on all inclusives, they say, oh, we have 7 different restaurants in here. And you got to be careful with that. A lot of them will be closed at certain times of the days. A lot of them you need reservations 2 weeks out, and you're not planning that because you're thinking, oh, I can eat and drink all the time. So a lot of them will not necessarily burn you, but you just gotta know what you're looking at. You got to understand that some of them might be closed. You got to call the hotel, ask questions. Sometimes it's hard with the language barrier to break through, but a lot of times you'll be able to get the answers that you need as far as that goes.
See, that's good to know. I haven't done all inclusives before, so my thought is for people who just want a quick, easy click and go drink and eat. That's their expectation, and that could be some of the right bad reviews, letdowns for people. And over time, when
Or
you travel, you learn, right? Like you're gonna get upset. Oh, my flight was delayed, or this connection was missed. But like you kind of have to, and even over the years, like I've learned, like you just got to go in with that mindset of like there's 200 300 people other people on the plane, like this isn't just happening to us, it's happening
yep,
to a bunch of other people. And just and know, right, plan for that. If you do have a layover, I know sometimes like, all right, I want the 50-minute layover, but if you're doing it overseas and you got to go through customs, if you're checking a bag, like that's going to provide a lot of stress. So maybe take a little bit of a longer layover, but those are the things that happen and you learn over time with travel.
absolutely. And one thing I've learned with traveling, whether it's by myself or with kids, with the family, I get the first flight out. I
Yep.
always try to get the first flight out. Usually there's nothing wrong with the plane the first flight. That's why you get delayed. There's always plane issues. So I usually try to take the first flight out. And here's another reason why: when you're going to all inclusives, you want to get your money's worth. So you don't want to get there at 7, 8 o'clock at night and you've already paid for the day.
Hmm.
So that's why we travel early too. Get in, get there, get early, start eating and drinking right away. And then, when it's time to leave, I'm the same way. Everybody likes to stay a little later and get the day out of it, but let's get up and get going because it's long days, especially
Yep.
when you're traveling with kids and there's layovers. We just got back from Puerto Vieja last year, which is one of the top vacation in the Caribbeans that I've been to. We stayed at a hotel called Garza Blanca, and when it comes down to it, that's probably one of the best resorts that we stayed at. When it comes to food, security, safety, the service, everything there, it was hands down on point.
That's
And
good to know.
that's probably out of 25 or 30
Wow.
all inclusives, 25, 30 all inclusives that I've ended up doing over the past 15, 20 years, if not more. Um, so yeah, that's my take on flying: is get in early, get there. You're always going to have some sort of layover, some sort of delay. Traveling with the kids, we're trying to book something soon, probably December or January of this year, and I don't think we're going to be doing any more layovers. It does turn into, flying to Puerto Vieja turned into, a 10, 12 hour day when it's really just a 5 hour flight. Unfortunately, there was no straight direct flights, but that's kind of how the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Yeah, now you got three, so it's not just one. And I can't imagine. So more
Yeah, we
power to you.
traveled. We did Bahamas with my first one. We did Puerto Vieja with the second one, and then the third one we're trying to figure out where we want to go. But we've gotten traveling with kids, going into that a little bit. We've gotten really good at it. We go down to Florida twice a year to visit my wife's family. We drive down there just because it's paying for 4 or 5 flights and then renting a car for 2 weeks. It's going to cost thousands of dollars when we can just drive 10, 12 hours. But packing the car properly, making sure everything is making sure everything's with you, you don't forget anything. But we've gotten good at learning how to pack properly.
Right. I think it would be good just to hear, right, the progression from, I kind of want to stay on the kids topic and then we can dive into Thailand later in the
Yeah,
episode.
for
But I
sure.
think just going like progression from kid number one, right? When you guys went, what was like a lesson learned that you're like, okay, I didn't know that. Then kid number two, what was maybe a
Sure.
highlight? And then like then now, like you're like, okay, I think I got it, but I'm there's gonna be something that I learned from this one. But how are you
Yeah.
preparing for that?
I mean, the biggest things that I think a lot of parents are unknown about is car seats and strollers, and how does all that work? You have to pay for it. How do I get my kid from the airport to the hotel, so on and so forth? That was always the biggest thing for us. We traveled with Samuel, my first one, going to the Bahamas. We traveled very heavy. I mean, we brought strollers, we brought this, I mean, we brought everything possible, which come to find out was not the smartest thing to do. It's just way too much luggage to travel with. So what we've learned over the past several times is when you go to the airport, they will take your car seat, they'll wrap it up, it's free for most airlines that we've traveled. They'll send it over, you can pick it up there. Um, and with that being said, obviously stroller, you go directly through. You can close your stroller down right before you get on your flight, and you pick up your stroller when you land. Um, One thing we've learned is we're not bringing car seats anymore. And the reason behind that is we've started going through, for instance, going through Expedia or whatnot, or any of these places that will pick us up. Typically, we like to go through Expedia because it's all secured and insured, and it's most likely safe. You're not going through some random third party to pick up you and your family. But you can request car seats, which is the biggest thing. You're only using them for 30, 40 minutes going from the hotel to the airport and back. Usually you're at the resort the entire time. So we found out that we can actually get car seats going back and forth. So that's just like it's a huge hassle, and especially when you got to carry two or three car seats at this point, or booster seats, or whatever that is. So that was the biggest, that was the biggest mistake that we made. But traveling for the first time, you never know. You kind of bring the whole fort with you.
Right? Yeah, because you got car seats, you got strollers, then you have your luggage, you have their luggage. I mean, I remember when we were coming back from this is like a two memories stand out from this trip. It was the first trip Audrey and I had been on. We were going to Turks and then we were coming back. Going to I've had TSA pre and global
Yeah,
entry for like 8 years. She did not. So she like I was like, all right, see ya. Like, do you want me to she's like, no, you're good. So I went through the
yeah.
TSA pre line. She went through that one and it took like 25, 30 minutes. And she came through, she was like shaking her head. I'm like, what's up? She's like, person in front of me had like strollers, animals, like fans, just pulling everything out, didn't know how to go through. And it just reminds me of like this funny movies. But then on the way, and then of course, like immediately, like already while we were going down there, she was setting up her appointment to get it when we got back. And I was like, yeah, if we're going to travel, you kind of need that because, I like to get there. And then coming back, Turks and Caicos was a madhouse because it was during
Oh,
COVID.
sure.
So you had to have there was an app that you could download to have your COVID, your
Yep.
test. You had to have another pass. I can't remember what it was called, but like we knew about this. I don't think many other people did. So we had that ready to go. We got to cut like this massive line that was outside, but the people in the front who were checking in next to us, they had like 8 check bags, 5 strollers, were like pulling out fans, pulling out like they were trying to
Jeez.
bring back everything from Turks and Caicos food wise. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is the highlight of not knowing how to travel. But it just goes back to, right, like
Yeah.
packing light or knowing what you need to bring and what, right, you don't need to
No,
bring.
and knowing what to expect. I mean, imagine traveling with your wife and let's just say two kids, and it's in a busy airport. You're in the TSA check line, and it's your first time going through, and all of a sudden they tell you to take the strollers off of your or take the wheels off your stroller because it won't fit through. You're just like, hold on, I've never maybe haven't even done it before. So then you're sitting there panicking. There's a whole line behind you. You're trying to figure out what's going on, and you're figuring out how to take these. So there's so much, and then it's nerve wracking. I mean, it is
Yeah.
nerve wracking, and so I think it's the unexpected is what I think a lot of people fear when
Yeah.
traveling with kids, and how are your kids going to react on a plane, which leads into obviously bring them as much stuff as possible, depending on how old your kids are. When they're 4 and 6, like my oldest two, it's iPads and headphones like at
Yeah.
that stage. But when they're 1 and 2 and they don't really care for that, and all they want is to like walk around and walk up and down the aisles, you kind of have to be prepared for that too. So snacks, games,
Yeah.
anything you can bring to keep them calm on an airplane. But I mean, As far as the traveling aspect of it, I think it's the unknown that a lot of people are always fearful of.
People need to just, that's good. I mean, people before night before, just week before need to practice. All right, how do I take off the wheels on my stroller? There's your take home lesson is
Yeah, there's
know
your
how to
take home
do that.
lesson. And you know what? You would be surprised. There's a lot of people that are willing to help as well.
Yeah.
That are around that are willing to help. I mean, there's a lot, and maybe they're helping so they can get through the TSA faster.
Right.
I don't. I get it. I've done it before when I was traveling by myself. I've seen a mom in need, and I was like, "Hey, I'll help you throw your stuff through and get you through faster." But I think that's what it really comes down to.
Yeah, or it's retirees who are like, wow, this person doesn't even know. I've
Well,
gone through
yeah.
this for 20, 30 years and they're just like, all right, let me step in. I'm the expert here.
Or you got the people that most likely do have kids in their 60s and 70s, and they're total D's to you.
Yeah.
They can be total, total punks to you and be like act like they've never had kids before and stuff like that. Like, I've dealt with that before as well. But
Yeah. Again, there's keyboard warriors, Karens, there's just there's just sour people everywhere. So
sour people, that's what it is. But yeah, I mean, traveling, I guess the biggest thing, going back to your question, is the strollers, the car seats. Those were always the biggest things, and the reason behind that is this is extra stuff that you have to carry.
right.
In traveling through Dulles Airport, I just saw, I think, a couple days ago. It was they said Dulles Airport, which we normally leave out of, was the number two airport in the U.S. for the average. The average walk to your terminal was 1.32 miles or something like that.
Yeah, and the biggest one's definitely Salt Lake City. We went
Probably.
we went there for a snowboarding trip this past year, and it was like 3 miles to get. Like we spent like 45 minutes walking. Yeah, when I was up there, when I saw you a couple weeks ago, my flight got delayed, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to use this time to get my exercise in for the day. So all I had was my backpack and my carry on, and I just have the backpack that has the strap that goes over, and I just put on my Apple Watch, walked for 45 minutes,
Yeah.
hit the went to the KLM Air France lounge with the priority pass, sat down, got some free coffee, some free food, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's the game changer having the
Must
Sapphire
must
Reserve.
must must be nice. I
Ah,
get
well,
uh I get free headaches
yeah, right. Hey,
from
you
running
got to
around
get
with the
the
kids.
if yeah, I mean, yeah. No, can hey, you win some, you lose some. I don't know what to tell you there.
No, it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, again, traveling light is always the best. Obviously, still being prepared, but traveling light with kids is always my recommendation as much as possible.
Yeah, for sure. And traveling light regardless, right? If you're going just
Great.
yourselves, going your kids. I know, we're recording this end of August. Me, Audrey, Mike, and Mart are going to Greece
Yep.
mid-September. And like
Yeah.
Mike right off the bat is like, no check bags because he went to Norway in the middle of the winter and he was like, it was snowing. I had all this luggage and he's like, we're getting so yeah, we're all bringing carry-ons that way. It's easy. If you have layovers, right, and you're in, I think our layovers in Germany and
Sure. Yeah.
right, so don't want to lose that bag and then be able to just scoot, get to Athens, be on our way. Pack light.
I mean, you just made a good point going back to traveling with kids. If you are going to be checking in your bags, always have a carry-on with extra clothes, extra diapers for all the kids, just to have that extra bag, because if one of them does get lost and all your stuff is in there,
Yep.
you're not going to want to run around looking for that stuff.
No, no, that's
So
that's
yeah,
a yeah, no, that's a great point.
always travel with an extra bag. My wife and I do that. We always have an extra bag with, whether it's her carry-on or my carry-on, and couple changes of underwear for the kids, a shirt or two, some shorts, whatever that is, wherever we're going, um, and diapers if they're in diapers or whatnot. So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's something I learned going on our annual snowboarding trips is like don't pack all of your snowboarding gear or,
yep,
pants, jacket, all that in your because I bring my rolling snowboarding bag and then I have a carry-on and like just bring a backup pair of gloves, but back up because I had my board not ship when we went out to Breckenridge one year and I had to go rent a board, but luckily I had my carry-on with some of that backup stuff to
everything
be
else they did.
exactly. And they were just like, hey, your board's not here, but you can rent this. And I mean, it was, American reimbursed me. But yeah, it's very
Dude,
true.
It's the same thing when we went over to North Dakota to go hunting a couple years back. It was I made sure all my stuff was in different bags because you lose one thing or one thing gets well our the airport was an hour and a half away, so that was a
Yeah.
whole nother
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah, no, for sure. I guess once you get to, so we've talked about like preparation on the flights, finding those destinations, and then obviously preparing for like food, drinks while you're there. But I guess just like managing with kids, when you're there, having some sort of relaxation, having some sort of excursions, like just how are you mapping that out? And what are some best practices once you're actually on the vacation?
Sure. I think it depends on how old your kids are. With my kids, well, I have a baby and then the 4 and 6 year old, they play with themselves. They can play with each other. They're fine just, being in the sand for a couple hours on the beach. But with that being said, yeah, we always try to find something that has maybe like a kids club. Some of the places do take the kids for, an hour or an hour and a half while you're there. We've done it once or twice. That was with like older cousins. I don't know if we would leave our kids for an hour or two just by ourselves, and we don't really trust that many people. I guess is what it really comes down to.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of parents that I know, family, friends, even my broker here. He goes on vacation everywhere, and they do it. They'll drop off their kids for an hour or two, and the people that are watching them will play with the kids, do arts and crafts, do a whole bunch of stuff, and the parents get an hour or two to chill. This year we're thinking about or late next year or early next year we're thinking about bringing a sitter with us this go around just because we have three now. And the price of bringing an extra person might make some sense for us to have some relaxation time. It's like might as well spend the extra 12, $1,300 and bring somebody else and have that relaxation time than running around and watching the kids the entire time. So I think that's it kind of goes one way or another. A lot of times what we do is we look at a lot of times what we do is we look at obviously the water parks. What's at the resort itself. Most of the places that we go to, we stay at the resort, so we've got to make sure the resort is family friendly, kid friendly at the same time. um but yeah, that's the main stuff that we look at is just what's on the resort. Is there splash pads? Is there lazy rivers? Is there slides? How big's the beach? What's there to do on the beach? Kayaking, jet skiing, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's super helpful too for people who are, starting to plan trips, don't know where to start, right? Just these lessons learned, hopefully for people who are just now having kids, thinking about it, have 1 year olds, have multiple, right? All this stuff is lessons learned that, like you said, preparing for, the worst and also preparing for, the unknown, which is always good to know. So I think now
Yeah,
is what, for me, I'm selfishly excited for because Thailand, right? We're starting to map that out.
sure.
Have, an idea. We know where we're gonna be, where we're flying. But for others who want to go, I mean, you went for a month and went to a bunch of different places. So I would love to just dive deeper into that and, highlights from that, where you guys went, some things to do, some things to look out for, things not to do, kind of everything.
Sure. No, I mean, there's a lot. Again, as far as planning it, I asked around, did everything I needed to do on my end. But once we got there, we obviously we flew into Bangkok, which is the main place that everybody flies into. I was always told to stay there for a night or two. There's not If you like the city life and you want to go to all the markets and stuff, yeah, that's really what it's for. There's a lot to do in Bangkok, but you're not flying across the world to
Yeah.
go to and stay in the city. You want to go to the islands.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we stayed there for 2 nights, I think it was. Um, Hopped on a flight to where do we go? Koh Samui. That's where we stayed for about 10 days. We stayed in a villa. It was a private villa right on the beach. We had three staff that were just for us. We would ask to go exchange money, and they would run and exchange money for us. We would ask to bring a massage therapist to the house. They would send them over. We would. I mean, they're there to work for you. So that was the cool thing about Thailand. I mean, they were there to pretty much serve you at any time that you needed anything, which was great. So Koh Samui. again, we stayed there for a week. We're about 10 days. We did everything out there that we needed to do. We did, the beaches, we did ATVing, off-roading up a huge mountain to the top of a mountain, had lunch out there on the top of the mountain, which was really, really cool. But for the most part, we traveled. It took about 20 hours to get there. For the first like 4 or 5 days, we really just chilled out. We relaxed, explored, went to all the markets, whether it was in Bangkok and Koh Samui, got ate at great restaurants. And then we did one thing I recommend while you're in Bangkok is go get fitted for some suits. I know people don't really wear suits as much anymore, especially guys our age, but go get fitted for some suits. I got like 3 suits, they were all 3 pieces. I got 6 shirts. My wife got some cashmere scarves, and it was like $800 or whatever it was, 600, $700. But what they do is they'll fit you there, and then once you come back to Bangkok to fly out, you'll get refitted again. The first day you come back, and then usually everything will be prepared for you like the day before you leave, which was cool. So you
Nice.
can go do that. You can go do that in Bangkok. You can go to all the tourist attractions. We did. I think I sent it over to you. We did
Yeah.
LeBeau Towers, which was where Mr. Chang was arrested in
Leslie Chow.
yeah, Mr. Chow. I mean, it was when he was arrested. So we were at the top of that building in Bangkok, and it was the most incredible views. I mean, it was amazing. The food was amazing. I definitely recommend you guys hitting that spot
Yeah,
for
for
sure.
sure.
And it was funny because it was kind of the same thing when you're in the movie too. It was
Yeah.
when you go up all the elevators and they greet you at the top and it's like 180 floors up. It's exactly like the movie. So it was awesome to do.
We got yeah, I mean the flight obviously is long. Luckily, we've been planning for this, and I've been, point stacking and just saving up and,
Yep.
leveraging our Chase Sapphire Reserve, the Freedom Unlimited bonus, the Chase Unlimited Business Inc. bonus, and then Capital
Yep.
One. It was just like, okay, I could spend these points on Greece, but I'd rather save it up. So we're going, 20, 25 hours over to Bangkok. I definitely want to, have the lie down seat. So sitting in Qatar in the Q suites, we got those there and then back from
Yep.
Bali. But we'll have plenty of time to watch the trilogy of The Hangover. So I definitely plan on dialing into that and getting
Dude.
getting my quotes ready.
We flew Emirates, which we loved.
Nice.
We really liked Emirates. We flew just basic economy, um, but it was fine. It was
Yeah.
good. And honestly, we were so tired when we got there. It was like 9, 10 o'clock at night. We still went out that same night because your adrenaline's just
Yeah.
kicking, ready to go.
Yep.
So, um, but yeah. So after we did about 10 days in Koh Samui, obviously again we just did the beaches. We bought the fake Louis and all that kind of cool stuff just because you're out there.
Yep.
We did all that, and then we really got into like the rest of the trip, which was Koh Tao and Koh Phangan. Koh Tao is known for like one of the best diving. It's a diving town. I mean, where
Okay.
we stayed it's a diving city or diving island. So we weren't going to scuba dive, but we did some snorkeling, and they took us around the entire island. It was a full day trip. They fed you. We were with another like 20 people. They drop you off at different areas throughout the island, which was awesome. Some of the clearest waters I've ever been in. I mean, schools of purple, yellow, blue, green, crazy looking fish that you've never seen before. Um, so we did that, and then hung out on the beach most of the days, chilled. Went to go see some temples, which are always fun to do. Go see the Buddhist guys. They don't like taking pictures, so just remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife got in trouble a couple times. Uh, one thing you guys do need to buy when you get there are they're called elephant pants. I'm sure you've seen people wear them
Yep.
before. They're like those. Well, and the reason why a lot of people buy those is because you need pants to go into some of the temples and stuff.
I
And
heard.
most
Yeah.
people, it's hot as hell outside. You're like, I don't
Yeah.
want to wear. And so you can just you can buy them like on the block down the
Yep.
street, throw them on and get rolling. So
Nice.
you will be buying those, I'm sure.
Yep.
You
Yep.
bring a couple pairs back with you.
100%. Yeah, we're going to Chiang Mai. Is one of the places we're going to hit, and we're trying to. I'm sure we'll get
Yep.
those, and
So
just got to
Chiang
map
Mai
that
is
out.
about, I think it's like an 8 hour drive. And you're probably not going to be driving, but some of these guys were trying to get us to drive. They said the drive up there is incredible, but
Yeah.
we didn't have time to hit Chiang Mai. That was one thing that we wanted to do. go to the the tiger sanctuaries and
Yeah,
all
that's
that stuff up there.
yeah, we're gonna fly just because it's like a hour
Yeah,
flight and it's easy, and then we're gonna go
yeah,
down to Phuket, and I've heard the PP Islands are great to go to if you
yep.
want something off the beaten path. I don't know if you guys did you guys go there?
We didn't, but I looked into it.
Okay.
Yeah, I looked into it. We just with I mean with going to Koh Samui and then we had to get a ferry
Yep.
over to Koh Tao, and then I think and then we went back to Koh Samui for a day or two, stayed at the villa, and then left to go to Koh Phayan, which was another small little island. We stayed on there for like only 2 days. It was where the half moon party was.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Nice.
we definitely did that, which was it's a whole nother story we can get into, but I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's a little overwhelming. Um, but yeah, I mean, we did. So Bangkok, Koh Samui, Koh Tao, Koh Phayan, and then back to Bangkok was, for the short version, that was the trip.
Nice.
Um, planning anything while we were there? No, besides the half moon party where you just need to get like your tickets and stuff like that, and planning the actual logistics of hotels along with your flying, along with your ferry and stuff like that. We got all that done, but once we got there, we were kind of just winging it.
Yeah.
I know I wanted to go and do like the animal sanctuaries with the tigers and stuff. So we ended up, that's the reason why we stayed an extra week, because I didn't get to do that the first half of the trip. So we ended up doing it on the back end. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of where it's kind of what we did. We were just winging it while we were there, to be honest with you. Again, doing a whole bunch of research, knowing I had ideas of what we wanted to do, just didn't know when we were going to do them, at what
Yep.
day and what time. So we just like I planned, hey, we have 3 or 4 items that we can do while we're in Copagan. That's what
Yeah.
we're gonna do. I don't care what day, but we're gonna do it.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're there, I mean, when you're there for 10 days, it makes it like that makes it so much easier. And it's like, hey, here's the things we want to do. It doesn't matter what day, if unless we have to have like specific tour
Yeah,
tickets. I think that was like usually when I've gone over to Europe, it's been like 3, 4 days in each city, which, sometimes I like, but we did, and you get to see a lot, but over the years it's been like, okay, 3, 4 days, everything's action packed. Now it's like, okay, if we're going for 4 days, it's like
yep,
2 days, you have the stuff you're gonna do that are like must sees. One day there's like a maybe, and then one day you're just kind of relaxing, and you have the restaurants you want to go to, but not every night is booked out, and you can have ideas. And then when you get there, it's ask the locals and be like, hey, is this a good one? Or like, am I just getting totally tourist trapped? And then they can tell you like, no, that's spot on. And that's
yeah.
kind of what you learn is don't try to jam everything in. I mean, it's definitely good to see a bunch, but don't run yourself down because you will.
That's exactly I mean, it was our honeymoon. We were trying to
Yep.
relax. Like, I mean, look, I could have done 30 days of like nonstop stuff, but I mean, because
Yeah.
there was so much to do there, but that's not what we were looking for. And then, going on the back end when we were just talking about it, is I wasn't trying to book everything in, because, there's some days that you're just gonna be tired or you just want to
Hmm.
chill. And, I don't want to have to be tied to anything. And again, yeah, we did ask a lot of the locals. I mean, our villa manager told us, no, don't go there. It's too touristy, or make sure you go here, go to this restaurant. And they sent us to a restaurant on like a cliffside where you can get a lobster and steak dinner. And it was for both of us with drinks was like $50.
Yeah. It's wild.
So, and that's another great thing about Thailand is, man, everything is cheap.
Yep.
But you get massages every single day. They're you can get one on the street or you can get one at your hotel in the villa, and they're all like under $10. It's just, I mean, it was great. It was great to do.
Yeah. I'm I was gonna say I'm excited because we did Portugal last year and it was cheap, but I've heard Thailand, and then we're doing Bali as well, and we're doing 8 days there and 9 days in Thailand, and just the inexpensive way, and then paying with points to get over there. I mean, it's going to be
Yeah,
pretty inexpensive, but yeah, I think like you said, right? It's depending on where you're staying. If you're staying at a hotel, like reaching out to them beforehand and just saying, hey, is there anything you all recommend? Obviously, you can do your research. If you're staying in an Airbnb, I always like to just message the host right off the bat and be like, hey, these are some of the things we're looking to do. Do you have any recommendations? Usually they do. So then you kind of have a good idea of, if you know what you're wanting to do and then you have their recommendations, it makes it a lot easier to put your itinerary together. And then
100%.
just use ChatGPT to format it for you. I mean, and then also do some research to make sure you double check that because, sometimes doesn't have the best stuff, but formatting it and creating that itinerary, it makes it 10 times easier than back in the day when you had to like go here, go there. There weren't apps on your phone that you could save anything. It was
Yeah,
a
I mean,
lot much more cumbersome.
for Thailand, like logistically, like we were talking about, I pretty much I mapped that whole entire thing out. I had to write everything down. But as far as like our day to day stuff, what I did was I put bullet points in Koh
Mhm.
Samui, what we want to do. If we got to it, we got to it. If we didn't get to it, we didn't get to it. And that's kind of how I did it. And then when we got to, Koh Phangan, this is what we want to do. If we can get to it, we can get to it. If we can't, we can't. And, there's some stuff that happened while we were there that, we thought about doing, but all of a sudden, where was it? Koh Tao, they have their largest festival every year, and we happened to be there at the time. So we were planning to do something else, and we were like, no, let's go to the festival. And it was like this huge festival, like 1,500, 2,000 people there, and it was very, very cultured. They had all the food out. They had, people doing Thai classes and like fighting like in the sand, like it was
Oh,
like Mortal
nice.
Kombat back in the day. It was like fight, like the fires were out and stuff. It was like exactly like what I saw in Mortal Kombat before.
I
It was
love
really
that.
cool. Yeah, it was
Nice.
awesome. So there's some stuff that we did, like the floating market in Bangkok. I recommend that you guys do that. It was about an hour and 20 minutes away. We ended up getting a guy that took us there all the way to the floating market. You hop on these little makeshift boats, and then it's literally dirty water, little vendors on the side, and if you like something, they kind of just pull you over with a stick. You can buy it. You can drink beers and have some
Nice.
drinks while you're doing it. And then that's when we saw there's like a tiger sanctuary that was like right down the street. So we did that on our when we came back to Bangkok on our like
Okay.
second to last day. We did both. I mean, we banged out both. They were both right there. It was like a 6 hour trip by the time you go there, come back. But I mean, again, the cost was like, including tickets, including your taxi, and including everything, was like $150 for the whole day. It was like
That's
this. It's so cheap.
yeah.
Now I don't know what if anything with COVID and stuff. I don't know how much that's changed over there. Um, but again, I have a feeling it's not. It's probably
Yeah.
all going to be the same.
It might have gone up a little bit, but it's, you're not
Uh,
flying into London or Paris or somewhere that's, like you're just going to New York City. It's going to be a lot less expensive
yeah,
and more
eight, eight,
relaxed.
$18 drinks and stuff like that. No, you
Yeah.
don't.
Nah,
Yeah,
you're
you don't.
good.
None of that there. It's everything is dirt cheap. The food is great. Go eat some street food. Don't be scared to eat street food. Most of it is good. One of the guys we were with ate a scorpion on like a grilled scorpion on a stick. Um, but yeah, you can. There's a lot to do. I mean, there is a ton to do, and that was the reason why we didn't plan and book everything, because we wanted to make sure we didn't miss anything or something new
Exactly.
came up, or you're tired and you just didn't want to freaking you know be on the go the entire time.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's we're starting to like map out like I kind of know the logistics, just we have the flights there and back and
Yep.
then how many days we're going to be there, but now we're trying to figure out, okay, how many days in each, which I think we kind of have down, but then once we're there it's like, okay, what are some of the main things we're going to do? And yeah,
Yep.
Bangkok, we're there for like a day and a half. We get in at 7 a.m. in the morning. We're going to hopefully sleep on the plane, and
Yep.
then have a full day there, have another day, be able to do a couple things, and then go up to Chiang Mai and yeah, and map out some cool things there. And once we get to the islands and everything, it's going to kind of be all right. We're on island time. We'll figure it out. And that's yeah. And then we're in
Yep.
Bali, and yeah, I mean, there's a couple things, but it's like we're on our honeymoon, so it's going to be a lot less planning than trying to go to 4 cities in Europe with 6 dudes and trying to plan for that and keep everyone on schedule.
Every single night partying and stuff
Yeah,
like that, or
no, no,
yeah,
no,
no,
no.
I
One or two nights now, I'm like, man, I'm toast for
done.
another week.
I'm done. I'd rather just have a couple drinks during the day, be in bed by 10.
Exact. Yeah. Maybe even earlier.
Maybe probably earlier. Yeah, I mean, that's what I would recommend you guys do, is not really pin down everything on a schedule, because then
Yeah.
you're gonna be try to be held to that schedule, and
Yep.
be like, I'm tired, or I don't feel
Yep.
like doing this right now. Let's push it off until Tuesday, and that's exactly how we did it. Booked all the logistics, and then as far as the day to day stuff, we just put some bullet points down on what we wanted to do and see what we could check on the box off.
For sure. For sure. Well, Chris, I appreciate you coming on. This has been really helpful for parents who might have kids, who already have kids, who have multiple kids, as well as obviously for me going to Thailand, and for
Yep.
others who want to go there. I think it's been really helpful for people who are looking for places to stay that Chris mentioned, all inclusives through the Caribbean. Those will be in the show notes, as well as a bunch of different places in Thailand that he talked about. Those will also be in the show notes. So feel free to click into those and book stays there. Those are all places he mentioned that he loved. And yeah, appreciate you coming on again. It's been very
No, I
helpful and a fun
appreciate you having me.
conversation.
Yeah, maybe we'll do it again. We'll dig a little more into the do's and don'ts of traveling with kids, like 100% of what I've learned in the past, and maybe next time after I do all three kids,
Yeah.
things will change.
We'll do lessons learned. One
Yeah,
kid,
lessons.
two kids, three kids, and
Yep,
keep it rolling.
yep. No, I appreciate you having me on, man.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate it. Make sure you get everyone gives a follow to the show. That way you don't miss any upcoming episodes. Have a great day. Peace. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to give us a rating and review so we can reach more people who are trying to travel. Also, make sure you give us a follow and hit the subscribe button. That way you're not missing out on any of the upcoming episodes that come out every Wednesday. If you want to sign up for any of the exclusive credit card sign up bonuses that we mentioned, we'll link those within the show notes. And then that way you can get started on your points and miles travel hacking journey quicker. Tune in to next week's episode. Peace.